Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, we've literally all been there, right? You're making a nice, comforting dinner, you've got your pot boiling, your ingredients prepped, and you're just waiting on the potatoes. 10 minutes pass. 20 minutes pass. You poke them with a fork, and absolutely nothing. They are still as hard as a rock. It's this universal, highly maddening kitchen frustration that can literally ruin a meal.
It really does feel like a culinary crime scene, doesn't it? Dinner is delayed, the kitchen is getting hot, and you're left staring at a pot of boiling water wondering how on earth a simple root vegetable is defying the laws of thermodynamics. Like, is it you? Is it your stove? Why is this potato still crunchy after 40 minutes of cooking? Okay, let's dive into this and investigate exactly what's happening inside that pot.
Section 1, the usual suspects, technique and environment. To kick off this investigation, we really need to look at common user errors. Because honestly, the blame for a slow-cooking potato often falls right on our own cooking methods. Let's weigh our technique against our ingredients. First up, technique. Think about overcrowding the pot. When you dump way too many potatoes in at once, you instantly lower the water temperature and kill the water circulation. That drastically slows down heat transfer. And speaking of heat, potatoes need steady, high heat to gelatinize their starch. So a gentle simmer instead of a full, roaring, rolling boil, yeah, that's going to slow things way, way down. Now, what about ingredients? This is actually a massive one. Adding acidic ingredients early, I'm talking vinegar, lemon juice, or tomatoes, will completely stop potatoes from softening. Acid essentially locks the potato's cellular structure in place, even after hours of cooking. Salt is a factor too, but interestingly, it only slightly slows the softening process. The flavor payoff for salt is usually worth it, but acid is an absolute roadblock.
Now, you might be wondering about the old cold water start trick. Dropping potatoes into cold water and bringing it all to a boil together is actually a fantastic practice for even cooking. But here's the catch. It does extend the total cooking time. Combine a cold water start with massive uneven potato chunks, and you're just asking for trouble. Heat physically has to travel from the outside of the potato all the way to the center. If your cuts are all over the place, the tiny pieces are going to turn to total mush, while those big chunks stay stubbornly crunchy. Bottom line, you absolutely have to cut them evenly.
Section 2. Hidden Culprits, Biology and Chemistry. Let's move to this and see how it builds as we look at our invisible saboteurs.
Because what if your technique is completely flawless? What if you cut them perfectly, kept that rolling boil, and kept the acid far away? Well, it's not always the cook's fault. Now, what's really interesting about this is how hard water comes into play. Hard water is tap water loaded with a high mineral content, specifically calcium and magnesium. So why does this ruin your dinner? Because that calcium essentially acts like microscopic armor for the potato. It chemically binds to the pectin right in the potato cell walls, supercharging their strength and causing them to stay completely firm for a much, much longer time. You're literally trying to boil a vegetable that is actively reinforcing its own defenses against the heat. No way, right? This makes your local tap water the ultimate mastermind culprit in our mystery. It's incredibly common in certain regions, yet almost always overlooked. If you've ever boiled potatoes and noticed that the outside feels weirdly firm, but the inside is somehow soft, yeah, that is a classic telltale sign of mineral-rich tap water. Those minerals are actively working against the gelatinization of the starch on the potato's exterior. Once the heat stays high enough for long enough, the inside finally gives up and softens, but that calcium-fortified outside just stays stubborn.
We also need to briefly call out another hidden biological culprit, age. As potatoes sit around in your pantry, they naturally lose moisture. And because of this dehydration, they become incredibly dense. A dense, dry, older potato is going to take significantly longer to soften evenly compared to a nice fresh one. So, if you found a forgotten bag of potatoes hiding in the dark corners of your cupboard for a month, you should definitely expect a longer wait time at the stove.
Section 3. The Field Guide. Waxy versus starchy.
To prevent future culinary crimes, we really need to learn how to identify our unknown potato types before they ever hit the boiling water. Because let's face it, not all potatoes are created equal, and grabbing the wrong one is a one-way ticket to frustration. Let's look at waxy potatoes first, like your red or new potatoes. They've got this thin, smooth, almost shiny skin. When you cut into them, the flesh is bright white or yellow and looks super moist. If you give a raw one a gentle squeeze, it feels very firm, almost springy. And because their cell structure holds together so tightly, waxy potatoes just naturally cook slower. Then, on the flip side, we have starchy potatoes, like your classic russets. You'll want to look for thicker, rougher, kind of flaky skin. Inside, they're a dull white with a noticeably dry or powdery vibe. Give a raw, starchy potato a squeeze, and you'll actually feel a slight give. Thanks to this looser structure, they cook much faster and break down super easily.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why knowing the difference makes or breaks your menu. Waxy potatoes are your absolute go-to for soups, stews, and potato salads because they hold their shape even after simmering for a long time. You just have to expect them to take a bit longer to soften. Starchy potatoes, though, they're your best friend for fluffy mashed potatoes, crispy French fries, and roasting. They cook fast, so the golden rule here is do not overboil them or they'll just completely disintegrate into potato soup. Matching the right potato biology to the right dish totally saves you from trying to mash a stubbornly firm waxy potato or melting a starchy one.
Now, if you're ever in doubt at the grocery store or in your kitchen, just use this brilliant little trick, the 5-minute test. It's so simple. Just drop a small, raw cube of your mystery potato into a pot of boiling water. Wait exactly 5 minutes and then check the results. If the cube is still completely firm, congratulations, you've got a waxy potato on your hands. Plan for a longer cook time. But if the cube is already starting to crumble at the edges, you've got a starchy potato. Honestly, it's a completely foolproof test.
Section 4. Case closed. Faster fixes for next time.
We've investigated the technique, we've uncovered the hidden chemistry of hard water, and we've learned how to profile our potatoes. So it's time to wrap up this investigation and arm you with a rapid-fire survival guide for your next meal. So the crucial point is applying these highly actionable solutions. First off, cut your potatoes into smaller, perfectly even pieces. This guarantees the heat reaches the center uniformly. Second, use a full rolling boil to maintain that steady heat, and then cover the pot to trap it in. Third, and this is a real game changer, if you know your tap water is hard and packed with calcium, simply use filtered water for your boiling. It literally removes the mineral armor. And finally, if you're dealing with particularly stubborn potatoes, try adding your salt halfway through the cooking process rather than at the very start. Sticking to these steps guarantees beautifully gelatinized starch and significantly faster cooking times.
It is absolutely wild how much invisible chemistry goes into something as simple as boiling a potato, isn't it? I mean, between the mineral content of your tap water, the cellular biology of a waxy potato, and the exact timing of your ingredients, your kitchen is quite literally a science laboratory. So now that you know the science behind the stubborn potato, it kind of makes you wonder, what other culinary mystery might be hiding in your tap water right now? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy cooking.